the equalizer. Step number 3 is to apply an equalizer. What is an equalizer? Okay, an equalizer is your best friend. It's what takes sound from good to great. It also works on from bad to good, but it's the one that really will make your sound stand out. Okay, what is an equalizer? Very simple. It works on frequencies. You are going to increase the volume of a certain frequency or range of frequencies and reduce the volume of another frequency or range of frequencies. Why would you want to do that? Okay, let's go back to the recordings. When you are filming or even recording the ADR or recording voiceovers, whatever, you are recording sound. Whatever effort you're going to make beyond the normal noise that you can hear yourself, there's another noise that you will only find out when you dig in the frequencies. Now, what kind of noise is that? I'm not talking about your ventilator noise, your refrigerator noise if you're filming in a restaurant, or your air conditioning, or what. This is a completely different thing. We've dealt with that. We have talked about that back in filming, during filming, and whatever is left you couldn't handle in filming, you are going to take the steps in number 1, denoise, use these ones to take care of them. Okay, that's a different type of noise. What kind of noise am I talking about now? The noise that is the result of the interaction between sounds. What kind of sounds? Now, your microphone has got its own noise, has got its own internal workings. And when that sound is mixed with my voice, with the vocals that you're recording, okay, with your vocals that you're recording, plus with the environment, that generates a new noise that didn't exist in the first place. There is noise that has been generated that did not exist in the first place. So this is not your fan or your ventilator. This is something, because you started recording, it exists because it captures the interaction between my voice, the environment, the microphone, everything around me, okay? And it has sometimes, not sometimes, I would say always, you're going to find some really, really nasty frequencies. That's how I like to call them, very nasty frequencies. And I'll show you what these frequencies are. But before doing that, let me show you where to find the EQ. Okay, EQ, where to find it? That depends on where do you want to apply it. Do you want to apply it for the clip level or track level? For clip level, you come here, select your clip, sorry, you go to inspector, which is like the parameters, and then you find your clip equalizer. Now, I need to talk to you like really honestly about what you see now. The clip equalizer from Blackmagic that you see in Fairlight is very disappointing, but we're going to use it for now to demonstrate a few things. And I'll give you another an advice on what to do about that. But I need to say that because honestly, I don't work with stuff like this. This is a tiny mini. It's so infinitely small. I can't work with that. I work with 10 bands. Okay, 10 bands. In Adobe Audition, it's very small. It's only 5 bands, and this one has got 2. It is what it is. It says it has 4, but it's for the purposes of the work that we're going to do. We need way more bands. Okay, but this is where you find it. Okay, we'll talk about that later. This is where you find your clip equalizer. Okay, and now you activate it or deactivate it. That's a different story. Okay, where do you find the track mixer? Now you find it in the mixer itself. Okay, when you activate this, you find your tracking mixer. Let me just open this one. Okay, you only have one. There's only one track here. So this is the EQ. This EQ here, you double click and you get a much richer equalizer. Now this is the closest you can get to a professional equalizer. Okay, it does have the bells and whistles. With 6 bands, you may be thinking it's kind of a starting point. Not really the greatest starting point, but it's kind of a starting point. You can definitely work with this. Why is it richer in the equalizer, at track level, and very small and tiny in the at clip level? There's no logic for that. I think it's kind of a mistake from Blackmagic. Honestly, I want to call this a mistake. You should not have a small clip equalizer. You want to have exactly the same level of control, whether at clip level or track level. It's not because it's clip that I have a tiny one. Okay, so let's stop talking about what we think about the Blackmagic approach for equalizers, and let's talk about the equalizer. What does it do? Now, I have talked about a few noises that you don't normally hear, and you need to dig into frequencies to find them. Let's listen first to the vocal, okay?
Yes, a long-term investment. I'm not the sort of person to be distracted by little gains in short-term speculations.
Okay, now I should apply here the loop so that we're able to go back every time, because you need to have it in loop, okay? You need to have the loop. Equalizer, always the loop on for a specific segment of the dialogue. Why? Because I'll tell you why. Okay, let me bring in, okay, we were talking about this tiny equalizer. Let's use it. What kind of uses do we have? I would like to call it, okay, yeah, 3 steps. Let's talk about 3 steps. To simplify things, let's talk about 3 steps. Generally, 2 big objectives and 3 steps. What are the 2 big objectives? Remove the bad stuff, embellish the good stuff. Okay, these are 2 objectives. Bad stuff, we take it away. The good stuff, we make it even better. All right, that's one. And you have some artistic choices in here for improving and embellishing the voice. So these are the objectives. Let's come to the translation in 2 steps. The first one, objective of removing the bad stuff, you have 2 steps. The first step is remove the edges, and that's the band 1 and the last band, whatever number that is, and whichever one you have. Let me just open the mixer one as well and select this. I'm going to have both of them open, so I'll just show you. So let's activate these as well. So you need to activate by default. I think they're always deactivated in most equalizers, because they want to give you it's your choice actually whether you want to do it or not. So here, when I say remove the bad stuff, noise, you need to know that vocals for male start at 100 hertz. So where is 100 hertz? It's somewhere here. Okay, good. And the vocals for female start at 150 hertz, which is here, somewhere here. Okay, so what does it mean? Everything that you find here, down here, is not voice. That is just mumbling, rumbling. It's just noise. So this is why, by default, the first band is rolling off stuff. So you can set it at 100, and by doing so, for a male voice, now we have a female, so we need to go to 150, but I need you to remember that for male voices, it's 100. The bass voice, the bass frequency for a male voice is 100. The bass frequency for a female voice is 150. So let's bring it up oh, that jumps too fast. Let's bring it up to 150. Okay, this is 150. So this is a female, we get 150. So what does 150 mean? I have, sorry, I have just removed everything below 150, rolled off everything below 150. I don't want that noise. That's not my voice. That's not voice at all. Okay. What I would like to do next is work on the band number 6, which is, okay, depends on the number in your equalizer. Normally you would have like 10 bands, but on the very last band, most often than not, I'm not saying this is what you always do, but for band number 1 is what you always do. I recommend that you always go look male, female. Okay, male put 100, female put 150. Period. Done. We need to kill everything below 100, kill everything below 150. That's dead simple. When it comes to the higher frequencies, a completely different story. The voice starts at 100, but it doesn't stop. That's the thing. It does not stop. So you're going to find if you go to 20K, 20 kilohertz, you're going to find voice there as well. Some voice, probably the bad part of the voice, probably the good part of the voice. We don't know. So the safest route, 90% of the times, if you don't know what you're doing, if you see the equalizer for the first time, if you're going to work with this for the first time, just go with the safest route. What is that? Roll it off, remove it. So it's always better to remove things than to add them when you're working with equalizer, unless you know exactly what you're doing. So in this case, I'd say we can say 12K. Okay, I can go with, oh, that's way too. Number 6 was mine. Number 6 just jumped. Number 6, I can go with like 14, 15. Yeah, that depends on, you just listen to it and then see what it sounds like, because it's all about what it sounds like. 12K, okay, we can go something like 12K. Okay, so I'm going to remove everything higher than 12K because high frequencies can be quite distorting and quite unpleasant to listen to. It's quite sharp, and this is the village where S lives. The letter S lives in the band range. um, I wouldn't say higher than 12K because you can find it in 8K. Sometimes you find the S depending on the person. The S that we talk about here in de-esser, because the S's are quite, the S's, the F's, they're quite nasty. They can be quite sharp. You need to remove them. So they live in the higher frequencies. You're not going to find an S in here, down here. You can't find an S in 500 or in 1000 because 1000, 1500, this is the core of your voice. And we look at that when you talk about the number 7, which is music. Um, the core of your voice is 1500. Keep that in your mind. 1500. Male, female, we don't care. It's 1500. It doesn't mean the exact frequency. It means if you want to target the voice, place yourself there. Okay? But that's for embellishment. Right? That's for embellishment or tweaking a few things. But I'll show you that. So step number 1 for removing the bad stuff is removing this stuff and removing this stuff. Removing the low frequencies and the high frequencies. That is, okay, you can go safer for 12K and then try tweak for yourself and see, listen to it. Right, now, the next bit is going to be, so for now, you know what I'm going to do? Something really simple. I'm going to disable this equalizer, please, because I'm not going to work with that. I open a bracket here. I know it's maybe a little bit too much information at once, but the equalizer is your best friend. So I'm going to need to tell you everything about it. Because you are going to have, when you're filming and you have a narrative fiction story or whatever, documentary, whatever you have, you've got people speaking. Every person needs to have a separate track. So I do not have a big disappointment with Blackmagic because I actually have a proper equalizer at track level. This one is completely rubbish at clip level, but the one at track level makes kind of sense because this person, I'm going to have her on one track. I'm not going to have the other guy talking to her on the same track. You cannot do that. You never do that. You always have a person, a track. So that's a one-to-one relationship. Okay, not exactly one-to-one relationship. That's another story because, okay, especially for EQ, she's talking in the restaurant. The interaction between her voice, the environments of the restaurant. Now everybody's quiet again. Just another. I'm opening another note here. When you're filming, everybody needs to be quiet. So they pretend they are talking, but everybody needs to be quiet. But still, there's an interaction between her voice and that environment. Now, if I take that same lady and put her outside, that interaction between the microphone, her voice, and the outside environment is different. So the EQ is going to be different, meaning I'm going to need to have what? Different tracks for the same lady. So it's going to be let's give her a name. Let's give her a name. She is, let's say, Alexandra. Alexandra in the restaurant. Alexandra in outside. Alexandra in the bathroom, because the bathroom has got different workings, different environment. It sounds different. Alexandra in this other place. You are going to have plenty of tracks. And this is why it is quite okay to have this kind of rich equalizer at track level, because you're most likely going to work with the equalizer at track level than at clip level. But if you have a person, let's say a person is going to show up just once, just one word, thank you, like just a waitress, thank you, or something like, what would you like to order? It's just one word in the whole film of 1 hour and a half. Do you need a full track for that person? Probably. Or you may decide to have one track for the people who have only one line. But then you need to have the equalizer per clip, because that, what would you like to order, is just one sentence that needs to be, you need to apply the EQ to just that girl's clip. And then on another clip, you have the driver who's going to say, okay, we've arrived, or something like that. I'm just coming up with stuff, but I've just... so if you choose to go with the clip route for those small roles, you can't. You're quite limited. So probably your safest route is to take one track per person. Okay, now we close this bracket. We have clarified that we have a way out. I'm not saying Fairlight, you can't use EQ in Fairlight. I'm saying your only proper route is going to be the track, which makes perfect sense actually with how you would put your voices into tracks. Right, now, so the first part, as we said, is removing the bad stuff. The second part is removing the bad stuff. What kind of bad stuff? We're talking now about specific frequencies. And I want you to listen at this beauty, and I want you to listen at the rubbish. There is rubbish in the recordings, and I've been talking about noises, and you don't know what I'm talking about, probably if you're a beginner. So let's listen to that. What you need to do, and this is how you always do it. You take the second band. I'm going to switch off these other ones. Okay. Keep those ones. We've already done this, right? We've already done this one. So you know what? We can switch them off for now. We've already set them 150 and 12K. We'll switch them on later. Switch them off. The best way is to have everything switched off and only one, the second one, switched on. And do this for me, please. Go to the gain and increase it to the absolute maximum. And come here and make this format, because this is how you're going to target. And come to the Q. The moment you move to this format, you get the Q factor. Q factor is a fancy word which is nothing else than wider or narrower. So this is narrow, this is wide, this is narrow, this is wide. It's quite simple. Don't get intimidated by these Q factors and stuff. And it looks fancy. Look, when you go to every profession, you go to lawyers, they've got their own jargon. You go to surgeons in a surgery room, they've got their jargons. But if everything can be brought back to simple English. It's just a way of excluding the other professions. So Q factor, you don't want to care what it is. It's just wider, narrower. You need to focus on the narrow now, because we're targeting specific frequencies. So this is the frequency. Now, this is what I need you to do. You're going to make sure you have a loop on, and you start playing from the beginning, and you keep the loop on, but you don't do it for the whole project. You just pick a certain part of the person's dialogue. If she's been talking for, say, 5-6 minutes, you're not going to do it for 5-6 minutes. Okay, you could, but focus on a specific fragment, which is long enough, like about a few seconds, like 10 seconds. How long is this one? I don't remember. Yeah, this is like about probably 10 seconds. And you keep looping over it because it's the same person, the same environment. We don't care about the words, the content of the dialogue. We care about the person's voice, right? So it's the same thing, and it's going to be the same result anyway, even if you keep it for 5-6 minutes. But it's work with something shorter, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and loop over that. And when you do that, start moving this one around. Now, you don't care about all the other ones, just number 2. Don't bring it down, keep it up at the highest gain. And because this is down, these are the decibels and these are the hertz. I'm now moving and listening at each frequency. So I'm here, where am I now? Frequency 571. You listen at 571, okay? But make sure you stay at 20. 558. Now, I'm not going to go, I don't know which frequency. The beauty of the thing is that I'm going to listen to it, and it is going to tell me what frequency. Now, let's listen to this stuff.
Yes, a long-term investment. I'm not the sort of person to be distracted by little gains in short-term speculations. Yes, a long-term investment. I'm not the sort of person to be distracted by little gains in short-term speculations. Yes, a long-term investment. I'm not the sort of person to be distracted by little gains in short-term speculations. Yes, a long-term investment. I'm not the sort of person to be distracted by little gains in short-term speculations. Yes, a long-term investment. I'm not the sort of person to be distracted by little gains in short.
Okay, have you noticed? When we are here on 815, generally, 800 is a good target. That's why you find also number 4 is by default on 800. 800 is a wonderful starting point if you don't know where to go. But I don't want you to use the numbers. I want you to listen to it. That's where you find that some frequencies are sinking. Have you listened to that? Let's listen to it again.
Short-term speculations. Yes, a long-term investment. I'm not the sort of person to be distracted by little gains in short-term speculations.
See? The frequency is singing. This stuff exists in your recording, but you don't know it's there until you start looking at it here in the frequency. Now, we have isolated the frequency by increasing it by 20 dBs so that we can listen to what exists in that frequency. Rubbish. So what do we do with rubbish? We need to drop it. Okay, so we look here at we bring it down, and it was what, 800. So let's go to our 800. Or what you could do, it's like just stay where you were. Say it was like here, 800, kind of 800. Let's say it was this one, and you come to the gain and you bring it way down. So don't move it down with this one, because you may target the wrong frequency. Okay, so let's say it's 802, and we bring it down. We have just killed a frequency, a bad one. So this is the rubbish that you need to remove. And this is why it's not just one frequency. There are plenty of them. Then you come to the next one and you switch it on. And you do exactly the same thing. You increase this, number 3, you're going to narrow it down, and you start doing exactly the same thing and look for nasty frequencies. You found it? Fantastic. Bring it down. And same story. You go, switch on the other one. It's mechanical, but beautiful. It gives you fantastic results. What is this? This is a 4. Yeah, sorry. And you just need to move the frequency because we've already targeted. We have already targeted 800 with number 2. So I'm just going to move it somewhere else here and make it narrow. And oh, so that's my number 3. I'm sorry, that's my number 3. So I'm going to improve, increase, and do like this. And same story. You keep looking for your very nasty frequency. You found it. Fantastic. Bring it down. And this is how you go about it. Okay. This is the second part of removing the rubbish from the recordings. And you're going to end up with a much, much richer vocal. That's what makes a difference between great sound and good sound. Okay. So unfortunately, we only have one per. Yeah, there's only one. I mean, you can't have 10. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the only ones you can apply. Let's check this one. Yeah, you can't. You can apply. You cannot apply that. You cannot apply this. To do what we're doing, you need to have this form. This form. Okay. This form is what allows you actually to focus, to zoom on one frequency. And the only ones that can do it is 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is like a very, very, very beginner level for equalizer. You're just limited to 4 bands. This is the best that you can find in Fairlight. This is why I would like you to consider going and getting a plugin, a VST plugin, an equalizer with 10 bands. Okay, 10 bands, it's much richer because you get to target more frequencies. Why? Because you need step number 3. And step number 1 was what? Removing the rubbish here and the rubbish here, which is done by these bands. Okay, now we can switch back our stuff. Step number 2 was targeting rubbish frequencies. But step number 3, we said your EQ, the EQ is your best friend. It needs to embellish the voice. Well, we know voices, if you have a voice that's too sharp and you want to make it a bit deeper and give it more presence, you increase the frequency around 1,500 or 3,000. So what you do is you come to say number 5. We are going to assume that we only found, sorry, we only found 3 bad, nasty frequencies, and the 5th one is going to be this band number 5 is going to be used to embellish the voice. It's not the case because you generally find something like 6, 7, 8, 9 bad frequencies, and then you have. It depends. It depends on the voice. But let's say this one is going to be used now for embellishing the voice. It's a choice. If you want to give it more presence, if you want to make it richer, you do the same thing. You change the format to this. Okay. Actually, this one you could do it with. Okay, yeah, this is much better. Let's just do like this. This is much better. So once you finish this, okay, there's this format as well, which is actually pretty cool. For number 3, yeah, sorry, this for number 3, you change it to this. This is the format you need to have. Okay, but for embellishing it, you need to use this one. For removing, let me just but that's after identifying. Okay, at the very end, don't forget to change it to this one. This is for targeting and finding it. And once you found it, then just change it to this, because you need to target that specific frequency. The less frequencies you get, the better. Okay, so this was how to find it, and this is how to this is the settling. The last stage is you need to make sure it's sharp. Good. Is this the case for number 4? Yes. For number 5, because I'm going to embellish it, I'm going to first target, so I need to have it in this format, and I'm going to look at number 5. Number 5, let's increase it a bit. I'm going to go to around 1500. Okay, 1500 is where the voice is mostly, so the middle in here, and I'm going to increase that. But then I'm not going to be using the Q factor, like making it. I'm not going to do that. Absolutely not. Let's listen to this. What I'm going to do is something different.
Distracted by little gains in short-term speculations. Yes, a long-term investment.
So this is
I'm not
where
the
you
sort
do.
of person to be distracted by little gains in short-term speculations. Yes, a long-term investment. I'm not the sort of person to be distracted by little gains in short-term speculations. Yes, a long-term investment. I'm not the sort of person to be distracted by little gains in short-term speculations.
Okay, so if you want to give it more presence, so you go to around 1500, anywhere between 1500 and 3000, and you go into work on a range of frequencies, because it's not about the number, it's about where the voice generally lives. It lives around 1500. Okay, I'm saying around as in average. It starts at 100. You can find it strongly at 500. It's quite in here. You could very easily come here and target 500. Absolutely fine. If you want to bring in the bass, especially for females, let's listen to this.
Yes, a long-term investment. I'm not the sort of person to be.
See, so for a female, if you want to give more presence and a deeper voice, not deeper voice as in closer to male voice, but it's more like give her more presence. If the role is a bossy role, then you're going to want to play with it at around 500, not around 1500, because 500 is more the bass. It starts at 150, but you find most of the bass at around 500. Then you find most of the voice at around 1500. And you see that most of it is going to start getting sharper at around 6000. And it starts getting annoying at around 8000 and above. That's where you find your annoying S's. So in this case, I think I would go with 500. Just a little bit. We don't talk about plus 20. We're talking just about a little bit. And it's all a matter of you listen to it and see how great does it
By
sound.
little gains in short-term speculations. Yes, a long-term investment.
Okay, now let's try to listen to it before and after, okay?
Yes, a long-term investment. I'm not the sort of person to be distracted by little gains in short-term speculations. Yes, a long-term investment. I'm not the sort of person to be distracted.
Much richer, much richer. And this is just working with 3 bands and 3 bad frequencies. We just removed 3 bad frequencies and improved one area of the voice. Normally, we would like remove 6, 7 bad frequencies and improve on 3 others. You need to work with a 10-band equalizer. I want you really to take the equalizer very seriously. And it's some work, and you may be thinking, whoa, this is a lot of work. Am I supposed to do this all the time? Well, you do it one per person, and that's it. Like most, okay, one per person per location, but chances are it's going to be quite minor tweaks, okay? Because it's the same voice, but it's going to be minor tweaks. It's really worth it because it makes the voice much, much richer.